All right, this is the kicking off the next set of videos here. Haven't even gotten to that. This is the very first part of the video I'm doing, and if you can see the little timestamp that's on the corner, then you probably know it's gonna be long. Hey, friends and revolutionaries. We've done a lot of heroes lately. There have been a lot of heroes. A lot of DC, some Marvel, did some princesses. but I thought I'd take a break from all that. I put all that aside and get a look at some very cool bots. Haven't taken a look at Transformers in a while, and with the, Series 2? I think that's what it says. Series 2, yeah. Series 2 of Generations. Transformers Generations, celebrating the thrilling 30th anniversary of Transformers, here coming up in 2014. We are going to look at Autobot Springer, the first of the Autobot triple changers. From robot to helicopter to armored car, Springer is just totally awesome. And I never had a G1 Springer. That's why these generation lines, I really like the Generation series. I really do. Nothing against Beast Wars or Beast Machines or Prime or whatever other Transformer series have been out there. Nothing against those, but these are kind of the classic G1 updates. And I am so stoked on that. I am so totally stoked on that. So yeah, this is going to be fun. And I'm going to say in advance, it is a Transformers video, not with just 2 modes, but 3. And that's going to take a while with transforming, so hope you stay with me through the whole thing. On the packaging, again, there's that great picture of Springer on there. So very cool. Actually carries over to the side a bit. Got the nice large window on the front. Kind of goes over the side and the top. Transformers Generations. Autobot Springer with the half picture of the Autobot logo. On the back, there is a picture of Springer, the figure. There he is in his helicopter and in his armored car, with rotary blades becoming swords and missile launchers. 2 missile launchers. Whoa. There's the stats for anybody who wants to pause it and look them over. Feel free. And on his write-up, it says, Autobot Springer. Autobot Springer was built to be a tough guy. Everything about him, from his nickel-plated blaster cannon to his bad boy attitude, is calculated to communicate exactly what he wants it to do. That he's a no-holds-barred, take-no-prisoners kind of guy. He prefers to fight alone, trusting his skills and luck to get him out of tight spots, rather than relying on his fellow warriors. After all, other Autobots fail. After all other Autobots fail. Oh, after all. No, it's not after all. After all, fellow Autobots, they fail. No, this is after all other Autobots fail. That comment kind of threw me. It's like, boy, he doesn't have much to say about his comrades, does he? After all, they all fail. Autobot Springer never does. Never does. So it's very cool to actually get Springer. The first of the triple changers, figure 1 of the triple changers from the second series of Generations. He wasn't alone, though, because along with the Autobot triple changer, there is the Decepticon, and in this case they chose Blitzwing. We'll talk more about that choice when we actually get to his video. But for now, yeah, let's go ahead, let's get Springer out of the pack, and let's go ahead and take a look and have some fun. Be right back. Alright, well, with Springer open, and having gotten a chance to kind of play around with him a little bit, he's pretty awesome. He's actually really cool. I like Springer. I was a little iffy on whether or not I wanted to spend the money on the triple changers. I'm so glad I did. Springer is so cool. He's not perfect. He's not perfect, and we'll talk about it. I'll show you as we get to it. I think that as far as the mold goes, he was a good way to kind of work out the mechanics, because from what I've read, if you've got Springer, you're already ahead of the game on Sandstorm, which is very cool, because I didn't have a Springer. I never had a G1 Springer, but I did have Sandstorm. And just the fact they brought Sandstorm back, of all the characters they could have done, they brought back Sandstorm. That's awesome. That is very awesome. But before we take a look at the Springer, just for fun, I wanted to bring in the Generations Blur and Cup, just to kind of give you an idea on scale. Springer is taller. He is a taller figure. He's not radically out of scale. Maybe for Blur, maybe. But no. Even with Blur, Cup, they're smaller. They're smaller bots, but they still fit just fine. I mean, for generation figures, yes, Springer is a little on the taller side, but he's not really sticking out like a sore thumb. I think he still fits well in the line, and it's just so cool to see Springer, Cup, Blur. If they would just do another Rodimus, because that reveal the Shield Rodimus, if they actually did another Rodimus, that would be cool. I would love to have another Rodimus to go with these guys right here, or an Ultra Magnus. Do the car carrier, do Ultra Magnus for Generations. I'm not a big enough Transformers fan to know if they are, or have, or will be, or are doing. For any of you who might be, please leave a comment. Let me know. Get me in the loop. I'd love to see them. But Rodimus or Ultra Magnus for Generations, oh yeah, that would be awesome. So let's go ahead and move Cup and Blur out of the way. And we'll take a look at Springer. And one thing about modern day Transformers that's so cool, G1 Transformers were really focused more on the alt modes. A VW bug looked like a VW bug. It's just when you turn him into a robot, not so much. Springer, yeah, I mean, his two alt modes looked really good on the G1, but as far as a robot goes, he was kind of stiff and just very G1-like. Over time, there's been this major shift from focusing on the alt modes to focusing on the robot inside, and it really shows. I mean, you can really see here that the robot Springer, I think, really is the primary mode that they started with. They started with him here. I mean, keeping in mind what he would have to do, and then just tooled him to do all the rest of the stuff, to do his transformations. He looks awesome. He's got the great blue light piping, which I hope my light is good enough for you to tell. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, that's cool. So great, the great blue light piping. Nice classic Springer face. Little scowly, little Batman-ish. Very good. And one of the things too about the robot versions is, I mean, certainly, joints are here on the robot to accommodate his transformation. Ups. They're kind of, some of the joints are kind of goofy to accommodate the transformation. But there are some others, like the twist here above the elbow, so that you can actually bring the arm in front of him. Oh, clicky stuff. Clicky elbows. Twist of the wrist. There's stuff on there that is again, it's there for the sake of the transformation and helps him helps his articulation in robot mode. But there are also some joints like the twist in the waist, which has nothing to do with the transformation. and it's all about for the robot and the playability. And I really appreciate that. Again, leg comes up and back, out. These are not really necessary joints for its transformation. This is here strictly for the robot mode. Twist of the thigh. Oh, more clicks. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, so there's a lot of articulation, particularly in the legs and the waist down to the legs, that is there strictly for the robot, for the playability of it, and that is really awesome. I mean, you can get some great kind of Springer poses, some great action poses, if you will. It looks really, really good. Springer is so awesome. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about his accessories real quick because, well, I'm not going to... Oops. Well, I'm going to drop them. Mainly because I'm not going to be talking about him a whole lot after this, just a little bit. First, he's got his rocket launcher, which is not like spring-loaded, actually. When you put it in, it actually pushes this trigger back. It actually pushes it back, and you've got to push it forward to launch it. I'm sorry, it's a large rocket launcher. No matter how the gimmick works, no matter how the launcher actually works, it's a rocket launcher. And I'm just not a big enough fan of rocket launchers to ever justify something this big. I mean, it's in scale for a transformer. It's large enough for a transformer to carry, but it's still a rocket launcher, and still a little more than I think we really need to have. I'm not a fan of rocket launchers. I just think they're too big, too bulky. I probably won't use it a whole lot. The other one, his sword, which dropped somewhere. There it goes. His sword, just like in the G1, is also the rotor blades for the helicopter. And it's actually very cool and has its own little transformation mechanism of its own that we'll take a look at here in a minute. But before we get to the helicopter, let's go ahead and get him into ground mode, into car mode, armored car mode. It's got the little itty bitty Autobot logo. I gotta say, there's not a whole lot of affiliations on him, except for this one Autobot symbol right there in the middle, teeny tiny. Just, oh yeah, we need to specify he's an Autobot. Yeah, just put one right there. That's good. It's almost like it was a secondary thought. First thing you do is unpeg the arms, which there's actually, if you look here, there's the little tab here, and they actually port right in like so. So you take that, flip this up, and things have to be just so with Springer's head to kind of fit through the chest piece. Otherwise it'll get hung up and you gotta keep fussing with it. But if you have his head completely straight, it'll come through that chest piece and then flip down like so. Next, and I'm totally doing this out of order. This is not how the instructions show it, but go ahead and click the shoulder pads down here like so. Go ahead and open up the inside part of his arms, and then flip this down. Bring this around here and click it in place, and that should actually lock in like so. So there you've got the first half of the vehicle right there. Okay. Do the same thing on the other side. I've only done this a couple of times, so bear with me. Oh, no, that stays open. That stays open. Take this out, flip it around, put it back in place. Again, that stays open like so. Okay. Next, go ahead, pop the backpack up and pull it back. Click it in like so. And you can see, oops, maybe not. You can kind of see here, the shoulders actually have kind of this folding down doohickey thing. So it comes back down here, just like so. Or no, actually, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. No, they actually stay up here. That's right. That'll come in later. Again, I've only done this a couple of times, so bear with me. So this actually tucks in right down there. So you actually pull it up a little bit, not down. See how the kind of these pointy thin things kind of slip right over the front of his legs. And put that landing gear back up there. Put that back down. Got the full first half of the car. Looking pretty good. Flipping his heels. Raise his feet up. And the next thing you need to do is actually bring the lower half of his leg around like so. There's actually a little tab inside that I've never really been able to get pegged in place. But it's actually supposed to peg into the wheel well. I mean, if it doesn't, it still holds in place pretty well. So, you know, if it doesn't quite click in place, it's okay. It holds together well enough. But there you go. That's what happens when you flip the lower legs over. Oh, and here, you can see here where his legs kind of come together there. And again, I'm doing this so out of order. I'm doing this so totally out of order. Pull these around, flip it up, get a spoiler, flip that down, and here you have the Springer in his armored car. Now the biggest complaint I have about it is right here. Is these parts on the side right here. They don't really lock in place real well. I mean, it seems like there is something there that's trying to catch, like a lip or a clip or something is trying to catch, but it just doesn't quite make it. So you can line it up and get it pretty close. Again, for a first pass on the mold, I think Springer actually is really good. Really good. But yeah, not perfect. Not perfect. You know, there is the gap here in the front where a couple of the hinges are kind of pushing it out a bit. You know, you can try and squeeze it together a little bit, but it's not. And there's always going to be this kind of gap right in here. You know, very nitpicky stuff, considering he's a triple changer. I think it's one of the things where if anyone has been complaining, or if anyone complains about the fact that some things don't quite go in place all the way, or if there's some gaps or things like that that are on here, you have to keep in mind, this is a triple changer. He is actually designed to have 3 modes. And to be able to get all 3 modes to work out perfectly, that's a tall order. And I think I think this one works out well enough. I think he's actually really cool. I think he's really cool. I think he's actually really, really cool. He does roll pretty well. And you look at the underside. I mean, you can see where things are at, but it's all tucked away pretty nice. There is the landing gear here, not to give anything away. There's the landing gear here, which his legs still don't want to peg together, right? There we go. There's the landing gear here, and the sword is supposed to actually peg in place, so you can actually tuck it underneath him. I'm not bothering. I'm not bothering. You know, on cup and on blur, it was a little peg, a little peg that went in place. You know, the little tabs in here are just a little too much for me to make it work. So I'm not really going to worry about it. Chances are I'm not really going to keep him in the auto mode anyway. This is not going to be the mode that he's primarily going to be on my shelf. That's something for Facebook. So if you want to see the mode I'm going to keep him in, it's going to be his unofficial 4th mode. So you'll get a look at that, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Okay, so now we've got to look at the vehicle mode, which Pia mentioned that it has a very Batman kind of Tumblr-esque look to it. And I gotta agree, that is exactly what I thought when I first transformed him and you looked at him from the side here. It does look very Batman. It looks very Tumblr. I would not be at all surprised if, well, of course you won't see the Mattel Hasbro crossover, but if there was ever a Batman Transformer, you know, like they do with Star Wars, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they used the Springer design to come up with a Batman. To have the Tumblr-esque version of the Batmobile transform into a Batman. It does look like it quite a bit. But that's cool. I like that. I do like that. But yeah, so we've got the vehicle mode here. Let's go ahead now and get him into helicopter mode. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take everything apart here off the sides, kind of open it all up, flip things around, and we're going to better peg these legs in place. I should have done that the first time around. I'll peg those legs back into place a little bit better. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. Next, we pull this piece right here off, move it up, and you can see there's the little slot where it clicks in. The arms, we'll do the arms next. What you have to do is, we'll tuck this back down, actually. And you'll see there's kind of a double joint here. You want to make sure that this joint right here is on top of this one right here. We'll hide that hand here. Oh, and I also want to make sure to lift these back up. These wheel covers. There we go. There. So lift those back up. Put this here. And then bring it around so it's kind of like a box. And right here, there's another tab with a slot. And we just kind of get that back in place. Just like so. Do the same thing here. Move this out of the way. Bring that up. Close that down. And put that back into its place. Just like so. Okay, cool. And you can see where it's going. You can see where it's going. Now, like I said a minute ago, you're going to take this and you're going to pull these down here to his waist. Now, one of the complaints I have about the helicopter mode is that when you pull these down, they're just resting on the side. I have not found a place where these lock in or click in or tab in or anything. These just kind of come off the side and rest here. Which means as you're handling them, they can move, they can shift. So you really got to kind of watch it with these things because they can get bumped out of place. They just don't really lock in as well as I would like them to. But with that, you kind of put that in. On the full thing here, on this flap, there are two tabs here and here, and two slots on the back of his legs. So that just sort of tabs in place. You have to kind of bend it up a little bit to get it to go in. And then, let's see here. There we go. Tabs in, and then Bend that straight again. Not quite sure why that's there. I don't know. It's not really necessary to lock this down. You can actually just fold it down and it sits just fine. But you open up his stabilizers there in the back. Again, make sure you got those legs clicked together better. You can take his knee pads, flip those down for landing gear. Inside the nose is another landing gear. Have him on display in helicopter mode like that. And then we get to the rotor, or his sword. Actually very cool. I really love the sword design on this, because for anyone who did have a G1 Springer, you remember that it just folded up. They just folded together. And over time it would either crisscross, it didn't line up right, or eventually the joint became so weak that it would just sort of flop apart. Here, they actually have these teeth that very nicely keep it together. So you take it apart, fold it, and then you have this piece right here that you actually fold up, and it locks them in place so they don't come back up. And that's totally cool. That is very cool. You take his rotor, plug it into the top like so, and there you have Springer in helicopter mode. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. The helicopter mode is nice. It would be one of my favorite modes. His robot mode is by far my favorite. Of the two alt modes, his official alt modes, I like the car. I do. I would probably like the helicopter more. The only thing that bothers me again is the fact that these don't come down and lock in place. That kind of bugs me. And the way they kind of decide to deal with the forearms, just kind of wrapping around here like so. It's fine. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't distract from anything. It's not terribly kibbly. It's just I wish they had found a nicer way to kind of use these parts here to find a way to lock this whole thing in place. You know, I don't. That may just be me. Again, I'm not going to slam the figure on that because, as I said, I mean it's a triple changer. This is a 3-mode figure, and I think they're all done pretty successfully. I think they've all come through pretty well. On his undercarriage here, there is, and bear with me, I don't think I've actually done this right yet. There is a way of actually getting the gun mode into the helicopter, which I'm probably doing this completely wrong. Yeah, I'm doing this completely wrong. Somebody's going to correct me on this, I'm sure. Feel free to correct me on this. But when it is in place, that large gun actually it kind of goes. It does kind of go. And it does replace the front landing gear, so that if you want to use his knee pads, you can still have him on display in helicopter mode with the gun part sticking out. So, sorry. Transformer fans, please forgive me. I will get better over time, I promise. There you go. See, I had to kind of snap those back in place. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Now, as I mentioned, there is an unofficial 4th mode that, as far as I've found out, all the triple changers actually come with, or maybe not come with, but actually have. I'm not going to show you here because it's not an official mode. But if you want to see it, I'll tell you what. Hop over to the Review Revolution's Facebook page. take a look. I'll have that up right after this. In the meantime, stick around. Got more bots to come. Hope everybody enjoyed watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.